What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rip City Rundown, and I've got another news report offseason rumor to discuss today regarding the Blazers offseason. We've talked about Zach LaVine, we've talked about DeAndre Ayton, we've talked about the possibility of trading the 7th pick, we've even gone into Miles Bridges, and then just the most recent video, we talked about our new assistant GM as well as a new owner possibly. So, in this video, I want to discuss about this new player who's been talked about with the Blazers in discussions for a trade in the past, but it's starting to pick up a little bit, as well as before I get into that, I want to talk about another assistant GM we just hired, and that is Sergi Oliva. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, but the Blazers have hired another assistant GM, so Joe Cronin, again, just bringing in new guys, which is just amazing for this team. The more guys, the merrier. So we bring in Sergi Oliva. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. He comes from Utah, and that's where he spent his last 2 years, and he previously served as a vice president of strategy with Philadelphia. So I think it's a really good pickup. Just, again, it's more guys, the better. And then also, a few months ago, The Athletic named him to their 40 under 40 list for executives, coaches, and agents shaping the future of the basketball world. So obviously, he's a great mind. He's going to bring a lot of value to this front office. I just wanted to mention that before I get into the main purpose of this video. And that main purpose of this video is, as you saw by the title, we are going to be talking about OG Anunoby and if the Blazers should go after him and the rumors that are starting about him. This is coming from Jake Fisher, who works with Bleacher Report, and he's reporting that OG Anunoby might want out of Toronto, and the two biggest suitors for him are the Utah Jazz and the Portland Trail Blazers. He says the Jazz would be willing to part ways with Rudy Gobert, which is a really big pickup for Toronto, and that is a crazy trade if it were to go down, but we're going to focus on the Blazers portion as we're just going to go dive deep into this article. As Jake Fisher says, the Trailblazers remain widely expected to pursue trade scenarios with the number 7 pick in order to add a complementary veteran alongside All-NBA guard Damian Lillard. And Anunoby is believed to be one of their primary targets along with Jeremy Grant. So that's just the first part of the article. And my initial thoughts before I even dive deep into this is this would be an unbelievable pickup, and I am willing to trade the 7th pick for this. I wouldn't trade the 7th pick for Jeremy Grant, but I would trade the 7th pick for OG Anunoby. Anunoby is just, I think he's only 24 years old. He's the classic 3-and-D wing we've been looking for all this time. And he even averaged 16 or 17 points this year, and in the playoffs he had a couple games where he went off for 25. So his scoring and his offensive capabilities are starting to expand over the last couple years. And I think the reason he would want out of Toronto is because they're starting to bring in guys that are overshadowing him. We look at a guy like Scotty Barnes, who has come in and kind of played that OG Anunoby role, if not to a better degree this past year. Gary Trent Jr. has come in and taken shots. Fred VanVleet is elevating his game, and then obviously Pascal Siakam is there. So OG Anunoby is the 4th guy on the totem pole now, if not the 5th if you put Gary Trent Jr. in front of him. So that's why I think he wants out, and I think the Blazers would be a great option for him to go to. Fisher goes on and says, I'll put it on the screen right now again, he says both contracts would fit into Portland's $20.7 million trade exception from the deal that sent C.J. McCollum to New Orleans. There's a possibility Portland looks to create cap space to land a maximum salary free agent such as Zach LaVine, but all indications point to the Blazers guaranteeing Josh Hart's $12.7 million for next season, which would likely negate a major free agency signing. The deadline to guarantee Hart is June 25th, 2 days after the NBA draft and nearly a week before free agency begins July 1st. It goes on to say, picking up Hart's money would require the Blazers to renounce their rights to free agents Jusuf Nurkic and Anthony Simons in order to still create space for a major free agent acquisition like LaVine. But Portland's most likely route to acquiring a splashy counterpart for Lillard is via trade exception, and Anunoby would be a home run addition in that scenario. So, breaking all that down, what he is basically saying is if we are going to go after a guy like Anunoby, we're not going to go after the big name free agents such as Zach LaVine, which I am completely okay with. If you're telling me we are rolling, because we can still go after Jeremy Grant in this scenario. If you're telling me we're rolling out a team of Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, OG Anunoby, Jeremy Grant, and Jusuf Nurkic with Josh Hart off the bench, as well as other guys we could bring him along the edges, and then Nasir Little, who I haven't even mentioned yet, that's beautiful. Because like it says, we don't have to trade a salary filling player because of that trade exception. We have a $20.9 million trade exception. So this trade can literally just be the 7th pick for Anunoby. We have the money to bring on Anunoby's contract fully without dumping our own salary. And if we had a dump salary, we could dump Eric Bledsoe, who is on that $18 million deal and really has no purpose on this team. I think that I want to look at the scenarios such as getting a Levine or getting an Ayton, especially an Ayton, before I look at Anunoby, because I am one that would be really interested in using the 7th pick to draft a player, because I think there are some really good sleeper talent in the middle of this draft. Now, if you're telling me we can just get Anunoby for the 7th pick and then that's it, I'm probably going to take that deal more often than not. But I do want Cronin, and I know he already is, to look at deals across the board and just keep that flexibility and not get locked into a player. Now, at some point, you're going to have to pull the trigger, obviously, but I want him to look at all the options, and I know he is. So I think Anunoby would be a great pick for the Blazers. That is my initial reaction, and I think, again, I'm going to go through the ranking of what I think is most likely the Blazers will get. I think Jeremy Grant is the most likely player the Blazers will bring in. After that, I think it is a guy like OG Anunoby to bring in. I think he is a very likely option the Blazers go after, especially if it's just costing us the 7th pick due to that trade exception. So let me know down below if you would want to bring OG Anunoby onto this team, if you think he would fit well, or do you want to use the 7th pick to draft somebody in the draft. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.